On this episode, I'd like to welcome Teresa Low. She is a seasoned CMO and growth strategist with a track record of 20 plus years at both Fortune 500 companies like Hershey and Beam Suntory, as well as family-owned enterprises. She is specializing in driving brand expansion and transformative growth for major consumer brands and organizations. Her specialty is, though, transforming tired brands into market leaders by connecting data insights with creative solutions others miss. She has built high-performing teams by leading from the trenches, turning resource constraints into competitive advantages. Teresa's consumer-first thinking paired with P&L discipline consistently delivers breakthrough innovations and growth that outpaces competitors. Most recently, she has served as a CMO at ACME Smoked Fish Corporation, where she is responsible for shaping the company's vision and executing marketing strategies to fuel business growth. Welcome, Teresa.
Thank you. Thank you, Darshan. Happy to be here.
So let's start from the beginning. What are the aha moments that sparked your passion for marketing and led you to where you are now?
Yeah, it's a good question. If I look back, I would say, funny enough, I think it really started with stories that my grandmother would tell me. So when I was young, I'm from Singapore. So when I was young, my grandmother would always lure me to do some massage for her by telling me stories. So she'll tell me stories of her as an 18-year-old bride. She never met my grandpa. She came from China to Singapore to marry this man. And she would just tell me all these stories of how she raised her 10 children when my grandpa died. And it was just so fascinating. I was always fascinated with stories. And that's why till today, I love movies that's based on true stories. I think that, that sort of sparked the interest for me in human and how remarkable humans can be. And also coupled with that, when I was in college, I did summer jobs and I was very good at this one job, which is I always work at the local supermarket. I was a sales promoter. I would promote all kinds of different things. I loved it and I was very good at it. Because what I do is that I would always find a way to connect with the shoppers that's walking by. And I would know how to connect with them. Maybe it's a mother with children. I'll find a way to connect, based on what I know about mothers with children, or it's, old people, it's young working adults, etc. And I think that really is at the core of it is my love for connecting with human beings. And at the end of the day, marketing is really about relationship building, right? Everything that we do with brands is about building a relationship, with consumers. And that's what I did as a sales promoter. That's what stories that my grandmother told me. It's really about, sort of that human story and how do humans just, thrive.
So I was going to ask you, now that you've been doing this for many years, have you developed 3 tips on how to connect with people pretty quickly?
3 tips. Good question. So I think the first is really listen, like observe and listen instead of talk. If you listen, I've been networking a lot with people and meeting different people, and it's fascinating. Just let them talk and listen, and you'll find something that maybe it's something that you can connect together, right? People like to find things that's in common. So you try to find something, try to understand where the person is coming from, and then find some common points to connect with. Then you're able to move closer. It's a little bit like dating, isn't it? It's like you meet someone and then you talk and then you try and find, okay, do we have any common grounds? If there's common grounds, then it's a matter of getting to know each other. And then also, I think building relationship is really about give and take. It's not always about take, or give, but it's the back and forth. If you can do that, then you know that the relationship is building. But if it's a one-way street, then you know something is not quite right here. And that's why I think from a marketing standpoint, it used to be that traditional marketing is more of a one-way street where, the brands will tell people what this is about, and then people will come just because. But now it's different. It's about, putting something out there, consumers will react, we, react back, and then collaborations are the best, where you co-create things. I mean, being able to go back and forth, that's really what relationship building is. I don't know whether that's 3, but those are what comes to mind.
So I'm curious, are there any standout aha moments that you've gone through that changed the way you think about human nature? Like you might have thought one way before, but then after the aha moment, it really changed the way you think and the trajectory and the way you did things from that point on.
Yeah. Change the way I do things. Maybe one, I would say a personal experience, and then I'll talk about a brand. The funny thing about aha moments, I feel, is that typically it's it's like a human truth. It's just a human truth that maybe you just didn't see it that way. So, for example, like I never thought I'll leave Singapore to come to the US. Never. But then when for some reason, my boyfriend at that time, there's always a boy in the story. So my boyfriend at that time decided to come to the US to study. So I said, well, like for me, I'm young, I'm ambitious. I'm like, I can find a good job anywhere. A good man, I just have to follow my man. And I followed him to the US, and serendipity got me to stay in the US. And I think for me, that lesson is basically, it's that I don't think too far in advance. I basically go with my heart and basically say, you know what? Whatever I do, I'm going to do the very best. And then come what may, I can always learn something from it. And that's always guided sort of my career, how I live my life, which is as long as it's something that I can learn something from, it makes me excited because I know I can contribute, but I can also learn. I go for it. And I've never regretted it. I've never regretted those steps that I make. Even if it's a wrong step, let's say I've gone to a company that, really wasn't what I'm looking for, but I learned so much out of it. So maybe that's an aha moment for me, which is, starting from the fact that never say never. I mean, never say like, I would never do this. I've never said anything like that since. Everything is like, maybe, why not?
Well, it sounds like you've learned one of those things that you get great freedom from knowing that you control nothing.
Yes, exactly. You control nothing. And I think the older I get, the more I am embracing it, which is, when I was younger, I have like a little post-it note on my desk. It says, if it is to be, it is up to me. And I always think that if I do my very best, I will get it done. But there's so many things that influence it. And that's also maybe the reason why I love marketing, because marketing is something where it is so contingent on what's happening as well. It's what you put out there, but it depends on what else is happening. Is it, the right time? Is it the right people? And all those variables make it super interesting. So it is not all up to me, but I can certainly put the best effort out there and then, tweak. It's all about learning. So I would say my biggest thing is curiosity is really the key to breakthrough. If you are curious and you have an open mind, you can do great things and you can go far. And that's what I've really, that's kind of like how I've driven my career and my life.
I'm curious, how would you define insights? Because people use the word in many different ways. How would you define it?
Yeah, insights is one of those, one word that can mean so many different things. Having done a lot of consumer research, in my career and my life, you get a lot of observations, you get a lot of findings, but insight is not easy to get. And typically, the way I define it is insight is something whereby you take multiple observations, multiple data points, and somehow you can notice a pattern coming from it. And then it's going to reveal a human truth that you say, of course, this is, what it is. For example, at Acme Smoked Fish, we came out with this very cool, very fun, creative campaign called You're One What Was Smoking, which is, very different from what, seafood category really do. And this really stems from an insight. The insight is this, which is we know we did a lot of consumer research. We know that consumers see smoked fish as indulgent, it's comforting, it's also healthy. So there's a lot of emotional things that go on with it. It brings a lot of joy. That's the positivity of it. It brings a lot of joy. And we also notice from the consumer fans that come to Acme every Friday for our Fish Friday, they love coming in. It's not the sexiest place. It's really, at the back of the factory. You come, you stand in line, but they love engaging with, us that work there. They love just being there. And one of the key and the interesting thing is sometimes it takes people from outside to see it. So we engage with an agency partner, Do Not Disturb is the name, great people there. They came, they observed it, and they connected everything. And the insight is that, you know how when you see a group of people having a lot of fun, you want to be a part of it. So, and that's the thing, like we love what we do and we have so much fun that our consumers just want a part of it. And that's the birth of that creative campaign, You'll Want What Was Smoking. And everything was around sort of the joy, around the craftsmanship of what we bring. But at the core of it is the simple human truth, which is when you see people having fun, you want a piece of it. You want what was smoking.
You've been doing this for a while, and a lot of times when you pursue insights, as you know, there's a lot of noise and distraction. So have you kind of figured out a way for you to kind of, get rid of the noise and distractions and hone in on those insights?
Typically, I find what's most helpful is sometimes when you are doing something for so long, or you've been working on a project for very long, you see things in a certain way and then you get tunnel vision. So I find it very helpful to bring in different people, whether it's external, third parties that, partners that we work with, or sometimes I would even just sort of show it to people that, for example, I'll show it to my boyfriend who loves smokefish but doesn't work for the company. I'll just show him something and then just get his like unbiased thinking. And very often I will go like, all right, that's right. I didn't think of it. So it's always helpful to show, for me, to show people that's not in the project, at certain times of the project, not that you have to go with what they say, but it's going to unlock something that maybe you weren't seeing it. So that helps me eliminate and then start with like refresh. Same thing with like I paint. Maybe that's why I like, backgrounds like this. I paint as well. So when you're painting, sometimes you actually have to stop, walk away, put away the paint for like a couple of days, come back to it, and then you see it with fresh eyes and you'll be able to do wonders with it. If you keep doing it, you're just going to keep going down this rabbit hole, and sometimes you just get lost in it.
How do you differentiate between knowing the what, data and behavior versus truly uncovering the deeper why that it actually drives consumers?
I'll give you an example, like Courvoisier. Courvoisier is a brand I managed globally. And the what is, I notice a very interesting pattern. The name itself is very difficult to pronounce. So whenever we're in a meeting, the first person who pronounces it, that's how everybody will pronounce it that way. It's Courvoisier or Courvoisier or whatever, however way, it's always the first person who do it, the rest will say it as well. And then connected with, so that's the what, connected with consumers. So consumers, same thing. We find that for consumers to go up to the bar and order a Courvoisier versus like a Hennessy, a Remy, or a Martell, a lot easier to pronounce. They are actually a different breed of people that they are not afraid to either mispronounce it, they embrace it, they lean in on it. So at the core of it, so the what is the behavior, which is, like you've hesitant to say the name. The why behind it is that for some people, it's embarrassment. Like you don't want to embarrass yourself by saying the wrong thing. And consumers too, you go up to the bar, you don't want to look like a fool. So that's the why behind it. And why certain people are okay with it is that they embrace it. They're not followers, they are trendsetters, and they're very comfortable with it. And that's two different kinds of people. And that helps us, really understand the kind of people that we really want to, be communicating and building a relationship with. And that's why we actually reposition Courvoisier as the revolutionary spirit that celebrates what's next. These people are revolutionary. It gave us permission to be bold and revolutionary in everything we do, from innovation to marketing programs, do crazy things, because it is taking away that fear that most people think like, oh, I'm going to embarrass myself. No, you're just going to go do it because you just lean in on it. It's that, it's that fearlessness.
She basically had people say, just lean on, don't worry about how you say it. Just
say it.
Yeah.
People say it in so many different ways. How would you say it?
Courvoisier.
Yeah, you say Courvoisier. Sometimes I say Courvoisier. Sometimes I say Courvoisier. There's
What's the
so many.
proper way?
There is no proper way.
I guess it
There's
depends
no
on your
proper.
French.
Exactly. It depends on whether you're French.
So, how has, in the recent years, have there been any aha moments that have really changed the way you look at marketing or pursue insights?
I guess, the aha moment maybe recently is AI is all around us, right? There's so much talk about like, marketing, especially marketing roles are all going to go away because AI is going to, take over, et cetera. And I've been learning about AI tools, using different AI tools, et cetera. But for me, the big aha is that with every trend, there's always a counter trend. So if the trend is more and more technology, there's also a counter trend, which is you actually need to be more and more human to be able to get the most out of the technology. So while you use the AI tools, and if you don't add your human sort of ability to empathize, to kind of think about the why, and also being uniquely human like us, we feel things. And being able to do that, we're able to, look at things differently. And it's like, how do we work with machine that way? So it's in the prompting, how do you talk about things, but actually, how do you then take the information that AI provides and make the most of it? I think the winners are going to be how do you use AI to help you be more efficient, synthesize a lot of data, etc. But then it's like, how do you use your human ability to empathize? That's going to make that difference. That's going to make creative that breaks through as well.
How are you using AI right now?
How am I using AI right now? So I use ChatGPT and Claude, and actually recently I found Notebook LM. It's fascinating. So with ChatGPT, I use it, for example, like simple things, simple tasks like planning things. But if I have to think through something, I would put it in there and say, "Hey, you're an experienced marketer that has so much experience in there." I just put my own profile in there and say, I have this particular opportunity or problem I'm thinking through. How would you think through? And then I almost use it as a sounding board to go back and forth, and build on it one question at a time and do a sounding board. Sometimes, some good things will come out of it and sometimes will not. But Notebook LM have been very interesting for me because, if I do a lot of research, I can dump all the research into Notebook LM and then it will start to organize it for me in terms of like, let's say I want to write a blog about different things. I can put all the things that I'm researching. It used to be I have to, do all the research and then, like write one at a time. But now I can do all that research, put it into Notebook LM, and then actually it will organize for me and help me sort of like, organize it and put it into chapters for the different blogs. And that saves so much time. I still, at the end of the day, still own it, but the organization is phenomenal.
It gives you a great head start for sure. Have you used a deep research feature of ChatGPT?
I did, but I find it to be really slow. Like the deep research took a long time to like, answer a question that I have. I just like gave up on it. So I have not had very good experience with it. Have you?
I've used it. I mean, depends. I mean, you must have asked the meaning of life or something. Just kidding. No, I mean, I have, and I know what you're saying. I think that's part of the deep research, right? I mean, but I have tried it, and I like it. I don't use it regularly, but I have tried it. It's quite. I mean, it's just amazing how much at your fingertips you can do now. Quickly. But I agree. You still need that human touch.
I was trying to do a competitive research. I was trying to research, like, tell me, I give certain criteria. Tell me companies in the New York area that is, this size, that has these certain things, so that it will, for example, that has certain triggers that happen to the company. And then what I wanted to do is like scrape the internet and tell me like what are the companies that will fit in there. It took a long time.
Regardless of how long it took, how was the output?
It was good, but it only came up with a few. I didn't trust that that was the only few that came out. So Yeah, I didn't think that the output was that good.
Interesting. Well, part of it is how much information it can scrape too, right?
Yeah.
I want to talk about how did you get into the specialty of revitalizing brands?
Yes. So I think starting from my days at Hershey, where you work with a very big company, I think my very first thing is when you work for a very big company, there are many, many brands that's there, and all the brand managers are all fighting for salesperson's attention, for budgets, etc. And I had the opportunity to work on York, Mount Almond Joy, and Cadbury. Those are great brands, but then they're brands that sort of been in the portfolio forever. There's nothing exciting happening. So people just sort of like, okay, it's in Walmart, it'll be fine. But it's slowly dying because we're not getting the younger consumers to come in. The nice thing about working on these challenger brands and brands that need transformation is that you can be bold. So what I did is I looked at York in particular, and really there was something interesting happening at that time too with York. So York very much was about the rational benefit of like the cooling sensation you get. But at that time, what was happening in the environment is that female empowerment was happening. So there was a lot of things around female empowerment. How can we, empower more female to do more things and feeling sensational? So I connected the rational benefit to an emotional benefit of like not just tasting sensational, but you want to feel sensational with York, and went to management and say, like here's like my idea, and work with the agency at that time, DDB, and say, here's our idea. What we're gonna do is nobody did it at that time, which is we're gonna sponsor Fashion Week, York. No chocolate brand has ever done it. So we're gonna sponsor Fashion Week. It's gonna be so cool. We're gonna partner with a designer, make like cool handbags, etc. The whole campaign is around feeling sensational with York. And then we had, all kinds of things that, we can bring this idea to life. And it was phenomenal in terms of just, first and foremost, salespeople got so excited about it because they saw like, like what we were doing from a marketing standpoint. I think that was my very first taste of like, wow, if you are creative and you do something that is not normal, like you breaks through, no, people don't usually do that, then people catch attention. It's not about how big your budget is, but it's about how breakthrough that idea can be. And ever since then, I've always been drawn to brands where uh, from talking to me, you can tell that I'm very energetic. So I love to bring energy, whether it be to the brand, rallying my troops, rallying salespeople. I really believe, again, in the power of human being. If we're excited about something, we move mountains. So I think that combines with like my personality and my taste of like, wow, if you can really, come up with a creative idea, it's not about how big your spend is. It's really about how you break through. I've done that for, York. I've done that for ACME. I've done that for Courvoisier. It's very rewarding when you see that because I think creativity stems from constraints. If there are constraints, that's where you have to be creative. And I enjoy that.
So I'm curious, now that you've revitalized several brands, what have you found are the first three things you pretty much need to do to revitalize a brand?
So, the first thing that I always do is first and foremost understand what is your brand equity. What are things that you can change and what are things that you must not change? Because too often, marketing people come in, myself included. The first thing we want to do is we want to change packaging or something about it. And it is highly risky. It is very sexy to do it because it looks good and then you've got your print, but it's highly risky because you got lots of people that recognize it and consumers don't like to change. So, first and foremost is understanding the brand essence, what can change, and also from your consumers, what can change, what cannot change. So, that's a fine balance. I think that's the very first one.
But that decision, in your opinion, is it driven mostly by the consumer, or sometimes management wants that new look and feel, right? So how do you reconcile that?
Yeah, I think it's both ways. So to me, a great brand, great marketing is when the brand and the consumer come together. Those two things need to come together. Consumers need to buy into what you stand for, and you need to believe in what you stand for. So if those two things are not incongruent, they are not congruent, then you need to change something. So let's say if management feels very, very strongly that we need to change because we're now a different company, we want to change. Fine, change it, but you know that you're going to have to bring in new consumers, right? Because you've changed, and maybe the consumers that like you don't like where you're going. So those two things need to be counterbalanced with each other. So I say the most important thing you need to do is understand your brand, what you stand for, what you're most passionate about. So, for example, Acme, one of the first things we did is like, what is our purpose? First, start with our internal assessment. What do we stand for? What are we very proud of? What are the core truths, etc.? Then we look at like, what do consumers see us as? What is really sacred for consumers? And what are things that we can change? Then once we have that, then I would say in the process of revitalizing it is also looking at sort of like the market dynamics. Where are you doing well? Where are you not doing well? What are your business objectives? Revitalization is towards driving business goals. So in addition to do that, you need to understand where you're heading, what are the business goals. Once you know the business goals, you know what you stand for, etc., you can come up with a plan to say, okay, you know what? Right now we really need to bring in new consumers because our old consumers are getting older. We need to bring in new consumers, and that is going to tell you a lot about how you can revitalize it. So first is like, what do you need to revitalize? What can you revitalize, and why are you revitalizing it? Then you go into the how do you revitalize. That's when the fun starts, right? That's when you can do all the creative things and all the different programming to go after it.
So now you're the destination. Now you can map out the strategies and the path to get there. That's number two, or that's number three?
Well, first is you assess yourself, like where you are, what you stand for. And then you assess like what do consumers see you as? Is there that's number two. Then you determine like where's your destination? What are your goals? You do those three things, then you can come up with a plan.
Interesting. So what new areas of branding or even AI would you like to get into moving forward?
AI is changing. So first and foremost, I feel like there are so many AI tools out there. It's almost like the Wild Wild West right now because there's always some kind of tool out there. But the thing is, they don't necessarily teach you how to use it or what's the best use case of it. So what's happening is you almost have to go and try it out yourself. Try it out yourself to see, what's going to work or not. So I don't know that I have an answer for you, although I am very interested in right now AI agents, like, what that is and can it do some sort of task for me? I'm still learning that. I'm not quite there yet, but I think that's the thing. You almost first have to like try all the different toys before you decide like, oh, you know what? This is something that, I can really use it for my particular use case. So I'm at that stage right now.
Interesting. So you've been in branding and marketing research and strategy for quite a few years now. What would you tell a 20-year younger version of Teresa? What tips or knowledge bombs would you give the young Teresa?
What tips would I give young Teresa? I give this, and it's what I look for in when I put a team together. I always go by 3 C's. So those 3 C's are gonna do you well. So always be curious. That's the biggest C there is. So always be curious. Don't be afraid to ask questions and be open. You never know. Like I was open to coming to the US, and then here I am, 30 years later, I'm still in the US, and so many opportunities. Be curious and have an open mind. The next C is courage. You have to be courageous because if you second guess yourself, and if I never took the leap I was with Hershey for 10 years, and when I was considering moving to Courvoisier, to Beam Suntory with spirits, people said, oh, it's highly regulated, it's very different, it's a 3-tier system, etc. If I had held back, I would not have been able to then be able to learn so many different things and be the marketer that I am today, which is a very creative marketer and innovator because I've been in different industries. So the second thing is be courageous. Just, like think through things, but then take that leap of faith. And with marketing, there's never a right answer with marketing. You have to have a leap of faith, go do it, and then learn from it. Those two things go hand in hand, right? It's like be curious and then be courageous and then learn, then do. The third thing I would say is have conviction because marketing and life, there's no guarantee. And sometimes you don't see things like immediately, but you need to have the conviction, like something in your core needs to say, I really believe in this. I believe in this. I'm going to give it a try. I'm not going to give up yet. That is always a fine balance because with all the data coming in, sometimes it's easy to look at the early data and say, oh, no, this is not working. Let's just like abort. So, it's a fine balance. But I think those three in combination serves me well. In some cases, I needed to do better in one of the C's. So to my younger self, I would say, really, just be curious, learn a lot, be courageous, go for it, and then stick with it. Sometimes don't give up yet. Stick with it.
Now, I know you specialize in revitalizing brands, but I'm curious, what would you tell brands to do before they become tired?
Oh, yes. So don't get that. Because it takes resources to revitalize something. I think it's easy to get lulled into like success can hide a lot of things, right? You could be out there, you think you're successful, but you're not really reading like what's happening out there. I would say always make sure that you listen, have a pulse on your consumer, like what's happening, what are people talking about, like have a real pulse on consumer because at the end of the day, the relationship with your consumer is what's going to keep, is what's going to keep you in business. Then also, I say always challenge yourself. I do think that bringing in new perspective always helps because if you're a team that have people that have worked there for like decades and decades, you are going to see things in a certain way. So I'm not saying that, you need to move in your career all the time. But what I'm saying is that it's always helpful talk to your consumers because it keeps you in check. But also then either bring in third party, like outside perspective to keep you in check. Because sometimes you can speak to yourself and you can be in a tunnel vision. And that's why I think like what I bring to the table, being from I like to enter different industry because that way I can see things through like new eyes. I also hire people that comes from different industry because I tell them you are new only once. In this first 6 months to a year, you're new. I want everything that you're thinking. Don't censor it because that helps us be honest about like what's really happening with the brand.
So I'm curious, what trends or things are you seeing that are evolving and going to change the landscape of how you pursue consumer insights or even how you do branding moving forward in the next 5 years?
I mean, there's so many things. There's so many things already changing. I mean, the landscape of marketing tools that we have, it's all changing. AI is going to play a very, very big role, and that's still unfolding as people come up with more and more tools that it's going to automate a lot of things. But I'm really looking forward to like how AI can help like once you have a creative idea, how do you then amplify it in a way that, you can test in, multiple models. So I think that that's already happening and that is beginning to unfold. I think the thing that will, still continues to be a challenge and it's something that, it's already there is this notion of we have so much data, but not as much insights. The problem is the more data you have, then you get drowned by the data. The insights get lost because now you're looking at the pile of data and you say, okay, I don't know what to do with this. So I think converting the data to insight is going to be more and more important as we get more and more data. When you didn't have data, you have to take whatever you have and then you make something of it. Then when you have more data, you get comfortable. You're like, oh, all these things are saying good things, but you may not be looking for the insight. So I think that's always the danger of when you have too much data, then then insights get lost. Sometimes you see those like social media reports or digital marketing reports, and there are so many numbers in there. It's like so what? Like, what is it telling me? Do I need to know all of these things? You probably don't.
I think that's an excellent point because a lot of times you do get a lot of data. You can get all the data you want and even more, right? But the key is understanding, even if it's just data, even if you just stay within the realm of data, let's say, right? Because a true insight, as you said earlier, is not just data, it's observations, trends, it's everything. But let's just stay within data, for example. I think a lot of people miss the fact that you need to understand the relationship of that data. And that's the key, right? You keep asking the why and go deeper. And instead of just looking at the data, try to discern or see the relationships within the data.
Absolutely. Like when I hate seeing data and then there's no why behind it. So you can show me a chart that says, like, oh, this is growing, this is not growing, etc. Why is that? And that you have to dig a little bit deeper, and you might have to look at multiple things to connect the dots and say, you know why? Because this competitor is doing this thing here. This customer is not doing so well here. So these are all the reasons. And that's going to lead to what can we do about it? That's why that is important, right? To your point, it's like the why is going to tell us what can you do about it. The what doesn't really tell you very much.
Exactly. Yeah. Where do you see yourself spending a lot of your time moving forward in terms of areas that interest you, you like to learn more about or explore more?
I think I already mentioned, I think AI is super interesting, but I continue to, really, I love human psychology and understanding, what motivates people or not. And I'm always going to be on the lookout on that. The other thing in my stage of my career where, I've been head of marketing, I lead marketing teams, etc. The other thing also goes back to human being is I'm really now more and more interested in sort of that coaching element of it. It's like, how do I help marketers? How do I help marketers like think through things, work through some of the barriers that I know I had when I was going up the rank as well. So, I'm mentoring right now as well. So I'm mentoring people, and especially I find that very rewarding because I can see my younger self. And I wish I have had, mentors that, can help to remove some roadblocks in my head, etc. But there's so many, resources out there today as well. So that's something that I am personally very interested, in pursuing more. As a leader, I think you're only as good as your team. So, being able to coach and lead and empower and build your team is more and more important as you become a leader because you're not the one that's doing all of the work. You're the one that is leading the team and building the capabilities. And so that's an area that I continue to study and be better at.
Yeah, it's funny. I was just talking about this recently with some people, and that is, with the uncertainty and all the changes that are happening in the economy and the chaos. I think one of the things is it's going to create an opportunity for people to then focus on developing their hard and soft skills, right? And learn more about it. And I think those who like to teach will coach, and those who want to learn will delve into an area more and just learn, so that by the time there's more clarity about what's happening with the economy and everything, you'll have gained more skills sets to really apply it moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. There's always lots to learn. There's always lots to learn, but I think, I'm always driven by, like I say, I love understanding human behavior and anything to do with that. I'm just, that's what moves me, and that's what I want to do more of, which is if I can help people, if I can do more, connecting people that's going to help people, I would do that. And coaching people gives me a lot of joy as well.
That's great. Great. So, last question. Who in the world of digital marketing would you love to have lunch with and why, or even branding?
It's a good friend of mine, Erin Wineland. She is the founder of Weave Insights. She and I work together, and talk about insights, talk about somebody that does consumer research but is very business focused and very strategic in terms of like connecting dots. She is a master in that. So I have lunch with her whenever I visit Richmond. I think she would be one that I highly recommend. That is somebody that I always enjoy because of the conversations that we can have. So I
Sure.
would
We'll
recommend.
connect us and we'll get her on the podcast.
Absolutely. I think she will be great. She really will be great.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you, Teresa, on the podcast, and I enjoyed you sharing your aha moments, and I really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Getting to AHA was brought to you by iResearch. To find out more about us, head to iResearch.com and make sure to search for Getting to AHA in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else podcasts are found. And don't forget to click follow to ensure you don't miss any future episodes. Thank you for listening.